Welcome to the Fantasy NASCAR podcast brought to you by RaceForThePrize.com. We are headed to wine country, isn't it? I mean, it's all wine country anymore. This country is soaking wet. We are drenched post-COVID. There's a brewery in every small town in America. But anyway, we're worried about wine country, Sonoma. We're going road course racing again. Who's excited about that? Yeah, probably not. There's so many road courses. Remember when we used to get so excited about Sonoma and Watkins Glen? And now it's just like, you guys must love this. Let's add 3,000 road courses. Okay, enough's enough. Anyway, let's get excited. Come on, shake it off. Sonoma. What can we expect? Well, first of all, there's a new layer of asphalt. Oh no, we were trying to get excited. And now you're telling me the track's probably not going to be that exciting? Well, it'll be fast. New asphalt on the track. We had people testing. Those drivers would be Ross Chastain, make a note. Josh Berry, make a note. Martin Truex Jr. They have extra laps. In your process this weekend, give them a boost, especially Martin Truex Jr., who, as you can see on the screen, led the majority of laps last season. Now, reminder, last year we did not have stage breaks, so it returned to an old school Sonoma race or old school road course race where the guys out front just ran away with it and there wasn't so much stage flipping. But either way, in those old school races, Truex used to do really well. And even in the new school races, he's pretty good. And really, he might struggle from time to time at the newer road courses, but when we go to pretty much Sonoma, which is his best road course, he is the guy to beat. And he got to test there this year. Also testing was Shane Van Gisbergen. Van Gisbergen SVG did a wheel test. Not a tire test, but he still got some laps at Sonoma as well. So boost him up in your Xfinity and in your Cup Series projections. But anyway, new asphalt. Now, one of the things about Sonoma that made it unique is, or is still unique, is it is more technical. It is more of the short track is what we compare it to of road courses, although now we have plenty of technical and short track type road courses. It was much more binary when we look at Watkins Glen, the speedway, versus Sonoma, the technical track. But by being a technical track, you really had to work the car. You really ate up tires. And then on top of that, the surface was old. And so tire management was one of the key factors. And you could see possibly that Truex loses a bit of his edge if tire management ultimately was one of his key advantages. That could be something to look into because tire management is not going to be an issue on this new repave. Tires should be fine. That's the general consensus, although Ross Chastain's like, oh, there was some fall off. Yeah, we'll see, bud. And we'll have a pretty good idea because we're going to get a 50-minute practice session. If you want to look at that lap by lap data, tons of laps to review, and you can absolutely track all of their fall off. RaceForThePrize.com. You don't even have to go there. But if you Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, now I've only said it once so far. A guy complained that I said it 16 times last time. I don't say that 16 times, but I do need to mention how you can pay me. And I know that it's more just like a scratching fingernails on the chalkboard type of thing for some people. And I do apologize, but I try to keep these ads short. I got to pay the bills. I got to pay for the Mickey D's. I got to pay for all the things to keep the family alive. The 3 D's. You know what they are, so I'm not going to repeat them. Anyway, diapers, daycare, and Mickey D's. Come on. No one complains about that part of it. Anyway, if you send the cash, I'll send the sheets, and you're really going to want to look at that 50-minute practice session, that lap by lap, see if there truly is some fall off, and find out if tire management is going to be an issue. Because if it is, we could see some new drivers excel at Sonoma. Or, more importantly, we could see some new drivers not excel at Sonoma. If there's no fall off, let's just go out there and run as fast as you can all day, rock and roll. We aren't really worried about, we're just going to stay on the same tires all day. No real strategy involved. Just go rock. Now, just go rock might just continue to favor Martin Truex Jr., who knows the braking patterns and knows when to get in and out. And as Ross Chastain mentioned during his testing session, one of the things that they learned is they're in different gears now in different corners. So those are advantages that Barry, Chastain, Truex are going to come into practice knowing the teams are going to know. And so we would expect those guys to be the fastest when practice starts. Obviously, they're going to share their notes with the rest of their teams, but they're going to have a better feel. We shall see. But again, practice is going to be important. You're going to want to look at that data. Well, I believe it is 26 for the rest of the month. or 27 for the rest of the month, and something like 52 for June and July. How do you not your own prices? I don't know. Look it up. Racefortheprize.com. Look at that data. Now, if tire fall off is not an issue, and that was Truex's main advantage, then we could see him drop back. Anyway, last year, remember those stage breaks, kind of a traditional race. This year, we got the new asphalt, no tire fall off. There's a lot of questions going in. Ultimately, my big prediction and projection or thought going into this race is, if you're fast at Sonoma typically and you're top 15 in practice, then you're going to be fine. For the most part, there aren't too many surprises at Sonoma, and we'll look at the data. If you have been fast here, then you know how to go fast around this road course. And if you are top 15 in practice, then you know what you're doing and you have a chance. There's not really a slug that goes out there. And I know you want to say, well, they flip the stages and we see all these miracles and crazy point differential punts. No, you don't. No, not really. For the most part, when we look at Sonoma, and we can make different generalizations at different road courses, but when we typically look at Sonoma, we can usually have an explanation for why a driver is able to move forward through the field. And I'm saying move forward through the field, not necessarily have a great finish or be the best driver. Well, you can generally explain, and for the most part, even when those drivers do take advantage of the stages and cycling forward, they still had quality cars. Or even if they didn't really show up in practice, we would see hindsight in 2020, like, oh, they actually kind of knew what they were doing because they replicated that performance or became better road course drivers down the road. So for the most part, as I'm going into build for Sonoma, I want fast cars. I'm not going stupid. I'm not going galaxy brain. I'm not chasing wild ones. I will chase place differential, but I do need to see some speed in that ride. I will chase cheaper place differential in the 7K range, 6K range, but I need to see some track history at Sonoma. I need to see some speed in that car. I need to maybe be able to say, all right, this guy was in Group B, and Group B was a little bit slower, so I can adjust my criteria. Or I need to see, like, oh, well, he just didn't replicate practice. His qualifying lap just did not reproduce what he was able to do with a single lap speed in practice. Just missed it. Missed a turn here or there. Got in the throttle or off the throttle too soon. That's what I want. Now, that's not going to be the approach at every single road course, especially some of the newer ones, some of the stupider ones. But at the traditional Sonoma road course, everybody knows I just want you to be good here. Okay, so we're looking at the 2023 optimal lineup, and the first thing I'll say is it's probably not the best lineup to look at because, remember, we did not get stage breaks. They scored stage points, but they did not stop the action. So we do get cautions at lap 51, and so if you're Kyle Busch and you are fortunate enough to pit right before, and then the caution, a natural caution comes out, wow, now you don't have to pit. The leader does have to take advantage of this and pit, and you cycle to first. And that is a huge advantage for Kyle Busch. He got very fortunate. It's a huge advantage for Joey Logano. He got very fortunate. That cycles them to the front for the rest of the race. They end up in the optimal lineup. They weren't slugs by any means. They didn't have the greatest speeds in practice, but had probably top 15 car. They didn't qualify very well, but they had about top 15 car. And then they ran around top 15, and they pit at the exact right time to catch the caution to cycle forward. Obviously, cautions and stage flipping are an issue. But again, this is not the best race to use because we don't have the stage flipping, a little bit more random. That being said, I will go over last year's results. And the thing that I really want to highlight is just how practice and finishing, or at least driver rating, correlate. So we look at what Martin Truex Jr. did, and he was fast. And you can pull the lap by lap data from last year. So this is some of the data that you're going to want. We're going to have a big long practice. you're going to want to see exactly what these guys are doing lap after lap after lap. I mean, he doesn't really even run a bad lap. Some guys miss it here or there. Some guys have a little bit of fall off. Here's Truex. Hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it. Come on. Don't quit it. Don't stop till you get enough. Either way, fast in practice, destroys them in the race with nearly a perfect driver rating. Come get you some. Kyle Busch, as I mentioned, top 15 car. Not as fast as you'd like to see. You know, if you were to flip it down and reverse it, let me see you work it. If you were to do so, you know, before the race, heading in, do I want to pay 10-1 for Kyle Busch starting 12th? No, I don't. I really don't want to do that. He does end up in the optimal lineup. Now, part one. Group B was slower than Group A. And if you go through here, you're going to have to make adjustments. When they went out on the track, their times didn't quite compare to the Group A. And you can also say from the opposite side, Group A had maybe inflated pace, inflated speed. And so you're going to have to adjust accordingly. And there's no real general rule of thumb. You got your own abacus. You do your own calculations. You run your own algo. But either way, maybe he was a little bit faster than this. But even if he was a little bit faster than this, say you're headed in the race, 10-1, starting 12th, you don't love it. But we know what happened. He was top 15 and he caught the caution at the right time. If he doesn't catch that caution at the right time, maybe he finishes around 8th or 10th and he is a non-factor. That's the way it worked. But either way, again, what we're looking at is practice speed. Was he fast enough? Yeah, if he catches the caution and the stage falls his way. You wouldn't love the play, but right now we're just talking about the correlation between speed and practice. Yeah, fast enough. He wasn't great by any means, right? So again, we're just looking for correlation. You know, if you're thinking correlation between, I need practice speed to be number 2 if the guy scores number 2 fantasy points. That's not really what we're talking about. That's not how it works. That's not the perspective of, that's very helpful. I get it. We look at the fantasy points. Oh, he scored the second most fantasy points, so I want to see him be the second fastest in practice. No. Well, he had second best driver rating. Well, that's a little bit inflated too because of the cycling and just getting out front and leading. And maybe average running position is a little bit better of an indicator. Because if we look, his average running position was 7th, 8th, 6th, 8th, 8th, 9th. You got all these guys sandwiched in here. I mean, he very easily could be driver right around here. The 10th driver down. And if I were to say Kyle Busch was the 10th best driver, and we looked at these practice speeds, which might be a little suppressed because he was in Group B, I'd say that's pretty strong correlation. Again, if we adjust based on average running position, it's very easy that Kyle Busch is around a 10th place driver. And even this 7 is, again, he benefited from just he got cut the caution at the right time. It's not a stretch to say he was 10th. And then to say, look at practice. Maybe this is suppressed a little. He was 10th. Either way, are we looking for correlation? Yes. Are we looking to make predictions based on practice? Yes. You're going to have the lap-by-lap practice data because you went to, count it, this is number 2, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, sent me money. Now you have the lap-by-lap data. You can take that practice data and make better predictions for Sonoma. Michael McDowell, super fast in practice, 3rd highest driver rating. AJ, very fast, even in Group B, 4th highest driver rating. Bell, a little bit off. That worries you. Let's look at the lap by lap on that, but he did have track position. And as we know at Sonoma and road courses, and Christopher Bell does have road course wins in his bag, that track position means everything. Also, the suppression could be a little bit of him being in Group B. Let's look at his laps real quick before we go all weird and say, oh no, why were the speeds so bad? We got and look at him. Well, his lap averages are bad because the dude went out there and ran 14 laps. Solid. Big, long run. Didn't come back in and do a redo. You come back in and do a redo, maybe end up with a good 1 lap run. Here's another issue. We look at this 5 lap run. This little baby right here throws it all off. Pretty good, pretty good. Oh, right back. Okay, pretty good. That's going to kill your 5-lap average. Doesn't show a tremendous amount of speed, but the fact that he's able to go out and run 14 laps consistently, bam, 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 bam. This is the data that you're going to want to look at and analyze, because if you're looking at averages and small data sets, it could be misleading. And by looking at this and saying, man, he ran 14 laps. He didn't stop and pause. And he didn't fall off too much deep in his runs. I kind of think that the general numbers might be misleading. And also, he does it during Group B. Whereas he did that in Group A, the numbers would look a little bit better. And then he goes out in qualifying, and they say, all right, run your fastest lap possible. He says, no problem, boss. Qualifies for round 2, and then qualifies 4th. It's like, don't worry. He's only 22nd. Who cares if he was only 22nd in practice? What are we talking about? Practice? We're talking about practice. Those laps don't count. No one wins practice. Well, there's a pride involved. All right, take your pride and go have fun. It's your month. Go dance around in the streets. Christopher Bell's going to run fast when it matters. Practice for Bell was, hey, let me get some reps in. Let me see the tire fall off. Maybe I don't want to chew these up at the beginning of the run. Maybe I'm focused on if I manage at the front end, I'll save some on the back end. So I'm not going to burn this thing out on lap 1 and 2. I'm going to go more for a race pace, race strategy. What do you think? And then when it does matter, I do need to run down a fast, hot lap, a Q lap, a burner. When it counts, no problem, boss. Got it in practice. Or not in practice, got it in the quality run. Hamlin ends up with a pretty good driver rating despite wreck at the end. There's Buescher, always up at the top. Fast practice, fast the race. Elliott, fast practice, fast the race. Logano, we got a Group B guy. I would say it's the same situation as Kyle Busch. Ends up with a higher driver rating than you slightly expect, but that's because he catches the caution at the right time. His speeds are probably a little bit faster than Mark because of the Group B session. You know the story. Kyle Larson, fast practice, fast the race. So really no surprises, guys. Fast cars are going to be the fast cars. One thing I guess we probably could mention in this is that you might want to know, all right, well, tell me about this optimal lineup. All right, well, you get Truex. We just explained Busch and Logano, how they cycled forward and how that worked out for them. What about Buescher and Harvick? Well, Buescher just ran up top 10 all day. 92% of his laps inside the top 10. That was the second best. Not really a surprise for Buescher. That was it. Simply it. He's ran up there all day. Moved forward a little bit at the end. No surprise. What about Kevin Harvick? All right, let's look at what Harvick did. Again, last year's race, not the best race because of the way the cautions work out. But here we go. Harvick decides, all right, I'll pit on lap 45. Oh, wow, caution comes out. And he really wasn't that far behind the 8-ball. He had made some moves, got to 18th, which is basically what his practice speeds were. And that's it. Catches the caution right there. And then he's good to go and holds his track position, has a solid race. No big deal. Gets to 11th. Probably had 15th place speed. We mean probably. Did he or did he not? Here it is. Maybe he didn't have speed in practice. But either way, 21st, moves forward a little bit, catches the caution, boom. Ryan Preece doesn't show much in practice. Maybe it's suppressed a little bit. It's going to be the same story for him, I believe, if I pull that up. But actually, I think Preece just has a good race. Preece won the 2023 ARCA West race, led 50 laps. So Preece just went out and had a good race. Let's look at his laps, and let's look at Harvick's laps individually in practice in a second. But for Preece, it's just, he has a good race. Runs better. All right, let's look at the actual practice laps for Harvick and for Preece. All right, so that's why his practice speed struggle. Okay. Yeah, missed it. And at that time, his tires were chewed up. Made some mistakes. Tough luck. But then when he went out for qualifying, right, the practice speeds were pretty rough. But when he went out for qualifying, at least he was 21st or 22nd, whatever it was. Let's see, Preece. Not that great. Probably 25th place in practice, improves. You give him that ARCA West race, laps afterwards, rock and roll, he's ready to go. Either way, my big takeaway is I want to see cars that have decent amount of speed in practice, so I can legitimately give a thumbs up to for rostering them. Also, I'm going to give some credit to Michael McDowell here. Just awesome the last couple of years at Sonoma. AJ's been great as well. You know who to play. All right, we probably would behoove us to look more at the 2022 Sonoma race, the first one in the next-gen car, but we do have stage breaks. And so we can look at the optimal lineup. You remember this is more of the battle between Suarez and Buescher. Suarez Hog starts up front, Buescher Hog starts up front, and then you're chasing place differential. And as you know, it's all about flipping some stages and getting that place differential. We'll go ahead and pull up the laps from Sonoma. Actually, if you look at the practice speeds, Buescher, yep, their speed. Suarez, yep, their speed. William Byron, it's okay. Like to see more, but Keselowski, top 10 speed. Harvick, top 10 speed. Cindric, you'd like to see a little bit more, but not terrible. Flip over, go look at the laps. The way this race unfolds, I still don't know why stupid people do this. I hate to say that they're stupid because Cliff Daniels and Kyle Larson are not stupid people, but this is his race to win. Besides, I'll just win stage one, and then I'll restart 24th. See you later, Kyle Larson. Game over. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are those? Who cares about stages? Take your stages. Hey, Yankees, take your stages and, shove them. Chase, it reminded me, yesterday was the first day of T-ball practice. First day for my son. And I had to be that dad. So my 5-year-old son, half the size of one of the 8-year-olds that had been, the veteran T-ball players, was giving my son a hard time. Coaches weren't really paying attention. Bigger kid was flipping his hat off his head and disparaging the Cincinnati Reds. So I had to be the dad that walked out on the field, stared the kid down, and very angrily said, "I'm Batman." Well, I didn't say Batman, but I had some words for the kid. And needless to say, he stopped doing what he was doing. And then I walked back off the field and back into, the grandstands. I don't give a what. Look, that's my background. That's what I do, is constantly have to intervene in those situations. Oh, you gotta let the kid figure it out on himself. Look, he's 5, half the size. I gave him a second or two. And at that point, you just know it's time to go. Put the fear of God in him. Very angry man, as you know, listen to this podcast. Anyway, Elliott then cycles to the lead. And then he decides, no, actually, I will pit early. I'm not Kyle Larson and Cliff Daniels. Not stupid. I want to win this race. And then he has all hell break loose on pit road, tires falling off. You remember that. So then they hands the lead over to Buescher and Suarez has his little soiree. And not a big surprise, 2022. Just quick notes. Remember, Trackhouse won 2 road course races. The JGR Toyotas were terrible at the road courses that year. And so it's the Suarez-Buescher show for the rest of the show. That's how they get in the optimal lineup. What about Harvick and Cindric? Harvick running pits on lap 22. That cycles in. Congratulations, game over. There it is, you get it. Pits before the end of the stage, boosts all the way up to 7th. Austin Cindric, who I will note, I didn't mention this earlier, 2023 Austin Cindric was terrible at Sonoma. Yes, he just won a Gateway. It's awesome. Great. And people are going to be super pumped. Road course after a win. Cindric, he was a wreck last year. Didn't wreck, but he was a wreck. He was a mess. He was terribly slow. Just terribly slow last year. Now, you go back to 2022, we do some old school stage flipping. Here it goes, lap 22, just like Harvick. All right, now I'm in the top 15. Now I'm good to go. Oh, let's do it again. Run it back. Let me pit early here. All right, I'm in the top 10. Beautiful. There it is. I mean, and again, it's not like it's completely rando. Harvick had top 10-ish speed. Cindric, we would like to have seen a little bit more speed, but you give him track position at Sonoma where, look, it's all about just not losing spots, making fewer mistakes, more so than being the fastest driver. And I think that needs to be highlighted and noted and probably mentioned a lot sooner in this podcast than at the very freaking end. Cool, you just ran the fastest lap. And think about it. Would you rather run the fastest lap, or would you rather be able to run more mistake-free laps? The driver that is going to finish towards the front may not necessarily be the driver that runs the fastest lap or the two fastest laps. The drivers that are going to finish towards the front, play the stages right, and anyone can do that. But it's going to be the driver who makes fewer mistakes, because mistakes cost you spots. It's not so much in wine country about being perfect. It's about, and this is for you wine drinkers out there, it's not about being the best drunk driver. It's about making sure that you make fewer mistakes. All right, you went left to center once. We'll get away with it. You keep doing that over and over, you're going to see them red and blues. All right, you're not trying to get home the fastest. You're not trying to be the cleanest. Make fewer mistakes, you make it home. Imagine that as an ad council PSA. Instead of telling people not to drink and drive, it's just like, how about you just make fewer mistakes when you're drinking and driving? Instead of going left to center 4 or 5 times, just cut it down to 2. As crazy as that sounds, like you cut probably the wrecks down by half. But that's wine country, that's Sonoma, that's here what we're doing. We're not trying to pass drivers. Some people are going to go out there and pass, and some people are going to make moves, but most of the time when you pass or make moves, it's because you just didn't make a mistake and they made a mistake in front of you. And you don't want to make a mistake and give your spot to somebody else. And that's what we saw. Harvick, that's what we want to see in practice. That's probably why you like what Bell did. It didn't show up as a flashy, oh man, he was 5th fastest, 10th first fastest, 2nd quick. He went out and said, I'm going to go out and not make any mistakes. And if you go out and don't make mistakes, the race will come to you. The spots will come to you. What do you know about road course racing? Not a damn thing. I've done Lime Rock a couple times in iRacing. And like, oh yeah, and just when I think like, oh, I'm kind of getting this. All right, I got the course mapped down. Now I look at the lap times and I look at what other people are doing. Like, I quit. Nope, I'm done. I'm out. You're just like, all right, I got it. I feel like holy crap. I'm like 3 minutes behind you. All right, William Byron, Brad Keselowski, how did they do it? Will, he pits early. Oh, I'm going to go completely different strategy than all you guys because I don't know if I have the car. And it really doesn't change much for him. So he does it again. And it's kind of right where he was to start off with. Doesn't really work out too well for the guy. But he tries it again. Why not? Come on, one more time. Let's see if I can pit before the end of the stage break and get some boost. And it really doesn't do anything for him. How about I just pit because I need to pit? All right. A little bit of track position. And then, hey, I have a pretty good run here at the end. All right, I'll take it. So he runs basically 15th the entire race, tries flipping everything possible, but in the end, just has a good run at the very end. Now, he also started 20th, but it really just came down to that big run at the end. Keselowski starting 22nd. These are not deep chases, by the way, right? Harvick, Cindric, Byron, Keselowski. Now, we're able to overspend on these guys that are not deep chases because Suarez and Buescher were not that expensive. So, again, this is not your typical road course, optimal, because of some of the surprises. It's 2022, early in the year. Again, you're just seeing stage flipping, no surprises. I will real quick go to Dakota because I'm already running long and I want to burn the treadmill out. And just super quick on Coda. Hog starts up front. Byron. Hog starts up front. Logano, Bowman, Briscoe, Buescher, place differential chases. no real surprise. These are drivers that have speed. They were okay in practice, and they, played the stages right and drove pretty well. I would follow a similar strategy this week. Again, if you were to look up, you have Fantasy NASCAR Spreadsheet, and you've looked at the speeds before, you can find that Logano, Bowman, pretty good in practice. Buescher always typically good. I mean, you get Chris Buescher at 7,800 road course. Yes, starting 20th. Why not? Briscoe might worry you a little bit, but remember, Briscoe, very good in the Xfinity Series. I don't think the SHR Fords have been that terrible. You look at Sonoma last year, where Preece and Harvick's been optimal, 2 years in a row. SHR Fords may struggle at most tracks, but you kind of want to give them a little bit of boost at the road courses, and we do know Briscoe has a handful of road course wins, even in the Cup Series coming in, where he struggled at most tracks, was a top 10 to 15 driver. At the road courses, he got him 30 seconds, 7,100. What are you doing? Obviously, you play him. Bowman's always that head scratcher, but we never want to give him respect. But he got it done. And he continually surprises us. I don't know why he continually surprises us at the road courses. He is typically a top 10 driver. We never consider him that. We never believe it every single time. And then he does it. I'm like, I don't know. With him and with Hall, not really a surprise. Logano starting 35th, 7,400. What are you doing? Obviously, you're going to play him. All right. Thanks for joining me, guys. RaceForThePrize.com. All right. Here's number 3 guy. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. It's in the description below. It's at my website. You can buy a June package. You can buy a June and July package. You're going to want all this fantasy NASCAR juicy data, especially the lap by lap in a 50-minute practice session. 50 minutes. That's a long one, yes. And you're going to want to analyze and overanalyze, because practice should very well correlate with what we see in the race. Blessed to have you guys around. Love you guys. Trip to life, fantastic.